Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. Welcome to another podcast of Harvesting Wisdom. I'm your host, Mike McMahon. I'm here with Peter Byck, ASU professor and a documentary filmmaker and a series maker. And I appreciate you coming here today.
Great.
And the
It's
first
nice to
thing,
be in person, actually.
The first thing I want to say to people here is you can listen to this podcast now, but I'd like you to listen to it after you watch Peter's work, which is Roots So Deep, the Devil.
You can see the devil.
You can see
down
the
there.
devil. Okay, down there.
So it's at rootsodeep.org. Is where
And you
folks
got
can
that
see
quote from the one farmer.
Yeah.
And he was talking about something down there, right? And what a great quote.
it. Ernest Ferguson.
So
Amazing man.
A great document. And a lot of us, we at the end of a day, you go home and you just want to veg out, right?
Yes.
You want to be entertained.
Exactly.
And that's where Netflix and all that stuff comes from, right? But
That's successful.
reality is it's fun to watch documentaries, and it's educational, but sometimes our brains, you got to slice in how much documentary and how much
And how heavy they are, too.
Yeah, and how much trash TV you can
Right.
watch.
Yeah.
But I would say it was just a pleasure listening to yours. It was very entertaining.
Awesome. Thank you.
So don't be afraid of watching a documentary. Crack open a beer and watch what's going on there. And I promise it'll be fun to do. And then this will make more sense to people after they watch it, right? So one question I've got, first off, is it looks like, and I know you don't want me to go talking about a bunch of other stuff, but you also, I started watching Cowboy.
You mean the Carbon Cowboy series?
Carbon Cowboy series.
Yeah.
But I ran out of time, but I watched the first couple, so I don't have, and we're not going to talk about it today.
That's okay.
But I'm going to talk about how we're not going to talk about it.
There you go. Fair enough.
It's also cool, but I haven't, what's cool is it took me, I watched the first series of the film, then the second, and then by the time, I'm a slow thinker, and I was doing other things, but I finally got the whole picture. You went to 3 states, 5 farms, same general area in the Southeast, 5 sets of farms next door to each other.
Yeah, neighbors.
So you had, some people would say it's not completely scientific, but it's pretty damn scientific.
I don't know anyone who wouldn't call what we did scientific.
Right.
Who would say that it wasn't scientific.
But it was.
It was very scientific.
And then you got 7 different scientists to do some really cool. Well, 7. I think you mentioned that it was 7. You were looking at soil.
7 universities, 3 private research firms, over 20 scientists.
And you were looking at CO2.
Yeah, so we were comparing the 2 different types of grazing. So you have adaptive multi-paddock grazing. Right. So that's going to be regenerative grazing, sort of a. It's not necessarily new, but it's catching on more now than it has. And then you've got conventional grazing, the way most people in that county would graze their animals.
Or in the world. Yeah.
But we were being specific to the area, right? So conventional grazing is where you let the animals roam freely through large parts of your farm or ranch for long periods of time, and they sort of eat down the grass. The grass is short, and it's a method, right? Yeah. The adaptive way is to keep your animals in a tight herd and have them just move around the farm very quickly for a very short period of time, and then most of the farm is resting most of the time. And it's that heavy hit and rest from the animals who, their manure, their urine, they're eating about half the forage and stomping down the rest to cover the soil.
Right.
That's the way that the Great Plains evolved, and where we got 10, 12, 15-foot deep topsoils.
And do you ever read any of Alan Savory over in South Africa?
Yeah, I've met him. Yeah. He's an innovator. Yeah,
great guy too.
Pioneer.
So the question I've got here now is you're in that region.
Yep, in the Southeast U.S.
And you're doing this, and you still, and the whole time, I was even mentioning this just on this last podcast I was on, but the whole time as a viewer, you're watching this, and it's almost like watching a murder mystery.
Oh, yeah?
Because I'm seeing it, and I already know, hey, this is it, you know?
Right.
And so all these farmers who are like a little slow to adapt, you know,
Or they
some
just
of
don't
them
know
were.
about it. They just don't know about it. It's
Right,
It's not necessarily slow. It's just most farmers don't know about soil health and all the things that it can bring them.
True, too.
Because they're just not taught about it. They're taught to buy stuff and get into debt. And so our position is, let's make sure every farmer knows soil health and these methods that work with nature are available to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's up to the farmer to make that choice.
Now, another cool thing that a lot of it, and I would consider myself in a class of environmentalists, right?
Yeah,
but
sure.
I'm also a pragmatist. I'm a business guy, and I don't, you know, I'm not into, you know, blowing up whaling ships and different
Gotcha.
things like that.
Not the protester out there.
Yeah, I think what you want is an outcome,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to show how great you are with your process to get to that outcome. You just want an outcome. Right, and so you got a little bit of gruff, I guess, from some people because you used to finance this. You used ExxonMobil and McDonald's.
Yeah,
Stroke of genius.
Yeah, so
really amazing.
The total budget on the project is around $13 million.
Wow.
And McDonald's came in for 4.5 of that.
Wow.
ExxonMobil came in for $400,000 of that.
Wow.
So if you go to our website, which is still rootsodeep.org, where you can see all the published research we've got 13 papers that are already done,
Right.
a couple more in the pipeline for the greenhouse gas cycling. You just go to that research tab. At the very bottom of it is our funding, and you can see where every single dollar came from.
Wow.
It's been up for years. We want everyone to know.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Well, and kudos to them, right? We all put, they're the enemy, except we are the oil company. We're all in oil.
I fly, I drive.
I fly, I drive.
I
you wear
use-
tennis shoes.
This is made
You
from
know,
oil.
This is
My
oil.
pants are made
everything,
from oil.
right?
Yeah.
We're all complicit in that.
Well, we're part of it.
That energy. So
It's just, wouldn't it be neat if we could have a beer without giving a kid asthma? That's kind of, that would be great. And it's possible.
right. Well,
With
now,
solar and batteries now, the world's changing.
We're talking about these changes that, and it's such a short time period, right? Things used to change every 100 years.
Right. Well, but
The rate of acceleration now, I was reading a book where it talks about, as humans, we have to experience the world changing every 6 years now. So think about
Like
it.
ourselves.
And a world change is really traumatic for a person, right?
It certainly can be. It can also be a benefit. Like, we're all in this AI revolution right now. No one knows where it's going, but it's here. It's happening.
Genie's out of the bottle.
And
now,
I just started dipping into that this last week, just like really sort of digging in.
Oh, we've been heavily into it for about a year.
Yeah. So
and everything has changed.
It's interesting, but there was some research out of MIT I just read about today that people who write with AI that don't write, they let it write most of the stuff, they can't even remember a sentence from what they wrote 15 minutes later because they're not engaged.
Well,
so there's a way
I
to
talk
use
to
it.
my IT guy all the time about this, and he spends almost all of his time with it, and he works with programmers and I mean big companies where they're incorporating AI and. What we've come to the conclusion is AI is a knife. That's it. It's a tool. And it's only as cool as the practitioner, is only as good. So if you are a PhD soil guy, you're going to get some good prompts and you're going to be able to use it for what it's good for.
Well, it's interesting. I went to ChatGPT and I asked about our research, not ours specifically, but AMP grazing, and it was pretty good.
Yeah,
it was pretty accurate.
But if somebody else off the street would start to ask about it, it would get completely conflicting. Something not even.
Well, maybe, but I didn't ask a very specific, knowledgeable question. I just said, "Tell me about adaptive multi-paddock grazing."
Okay,
and it did. So I was surprised that it had enough information to pull from because it's not hugely studied, which is a problem, right? Our team's one of the first to actually do this kind of rigorous. All the different methods of
so
science.
where did you come up with that? So your background, we didn't get into this, but your background is in film and in
filmmaking. Documentary filmmaking.
Which, by the way, because we have to do some filming and documentary stuff of what we're doing. I'm trying to write, and you talk about, I've started writing books right before COVID, and I didn't do them as books. I was writing notes for myself, because I I have a soil company, and I'm doing organic soils.
Okay, so
and
I'm learning from you.
So I'm doing massive composting of different things. And
Are you doing the composting here in Phoenix?
oh yeah, I'll take
sweet.
you around to to what we're doing. So,
Okay.
but I'm trying to learn, like as I'm going. I'm trying to figure. So I'm taking notes, and I'm meeting people. I'm going to other farms and I'm up in Canada. I'm down all over the world, looking at different ways of doing things, right? And I'm trying to figure it out because I'm so stupid. I don't know it.
We're all trying to figure it out.
So and this is and it's the same thing. I had a farm, a community garden in downtown Phoenix, and on Central Agave Farms, 17 acres, and not sure why I even got into it. To be honest with you, it's one of those things you forget, but it cost a fortune. And like even with the nonprofit.
Were you guys up near Lux? Were you that whole
Yeah,
land?
that was us. Yeah.
Why'd you get kicked out?
Well, I'm glad I got kicked out. I was losing about $25,000 a month.
Okay, I didn't want you losing money, but it was beautiful. I live right near there, and it was beautiful to see what you guys did to that.
And it was a great journey, if you talk about a journey. But I learned a lot. Like I think I am the expert in community garden because I've made 1,000 mistakes.
Right.
I'm not sure if I did anything particularly correct, but I can tell you all about the 1,000 mistakes, right? And
learning is, it's painful, the mistakes. But I tell my students, I just had my first class last Friday. You will make mistakes.
Oh, if you don't, you're not doing anything.
The game is to learn from the mistakes, so you don't do it twice.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I do some things twice or three times. That's when you get frustrated.
I've done a few things more than twice.
But that, so that was because I started I've been a landscaper.
Okay.
I wasn't wanting to be a landscaper. I went to school back east in environmental design, came out here, started landscaping to put myself through ASU to get a degree in urban planning.
Yeah.
And, I did it so long, and I only worked for a while in urban planning and engineering, and then went back to landscaping.
Got it.
Which I didn't particularly necessarily have a passion at the time for.
It's a tricky place out here, the desert and water and all those things.
The company I worked for, two of them before I started the company, one was started salvage, native plant salvage.
Okay.
And so I was part of that process of
sounds
learning
like
how
an
to do it.
honorable profession.
We
save plants from.
So if you go up to Scottsdale or parts of Phoenix, North Phoenix, and Mesa, we helped. I was myself and a competitor at the time, cousins of the company I worked for.
Right.
We helped write the ordinance, and that's why it looks the way it looks. But I learned a lot about farming that way because I had to dig in every soil throughout the valley, right? So rock and clay and sand and we learned how to box and not box and the seasonality behind it. If you dig at the wrong time of the year, it all dies. And it's the cactus, the whole thing. Yeah. But I learned one of the things, and I'm going to ask you questions on yours pretty quick on that, is the concept of how native foundational plants are co-evolve with other animals
absolutely.
and with the soil.
Yep.
Right. And that's something that, we just aren't really when we think regenerative farming, nobody's even really talking about the corridors and the connections and the perimeters so much. But
think
it's
about
a big part.
If you think about the Great Plains, right, or this whole continent, 1491 and back, you had the bison, which are the, genius land managers. You had the beaver, who are the great water engineers.
I'm glad you brought the beaver up.
Who
knows about them?
You've got the prairie dogs, who are the tunnelers that just bring air down to all the systems.
Yeah.
Those three animals we tried to eradicate. And I say we as human beings. I haven't killed one of them myself. Well, I have eaten a buffalo, so I guess. Well, but sustainably raised, regeneratively raised.
You've eaten a bison.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not the same as the buffalo.
That's right.
I don't know if there's any of those left, but you're right. And what the remarkable one of all was the beaver.
Amazing.
The beaver was.
And they're being reintroduced. Yeah. There's a really cool group called the Beaver Institute right now.
Yeah. And I've read a few books on the beavers. There's a good one out there right now. And,
people in Colorado get pissed when they eat their trees and stuff. I get that. I wouldn't want someone to eat my trees if I planted them, but the beaver themselves, out in their element, they slow water down.
Yeah, well, they spread it out.
Well, that's how they're slowing it down,
Right,
right?
right.
And then it seeps back into the water table.
Yeah.
And there's this guy, Peter Anderson, and his son, Stuart Anderson in Australia. They're slowing the water down on those big ranches there, and it's just working.
Yeah, of course.
And, so you have rain twice a year like we have here. I mean, we've had rain the last couple of days. Isn't it
How about
nice?
that? I
think
forgot
I think there's some thunderstorms
until
brewing
this
right now.
week. Yeah, I forgot that it
but
rains.
if all that rain is lost. All that rain, we had 1.5 inches last night in 2 hours. It's gone.
Yeah, because it cheats.
Well, we didn't stop it. We didn't catch it.
Well, because we manufacture, so I have drought tolerant soils that I know we're going through a scientific, we're going through different studies with different universities, but we're saving about 40% of the water through soil management.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to that in a second.
Please do.
But
all the scientists I work with, all the farmers I work with, they're soil managers.
we've done,
I'm learning every day about soil.
With our farmers, they have like 100 acres of watermelon here and 100 acres with our compost on. And our compost is on very thin. Right? Because
is it sort of across the whole farm?
It's completely across.
Like quarter inch?
Yeah. It's about that much.
Yeah.
But he called me, the farmer called me up at night because you got to get out here right now. I was like, who is this?
You know, just see the difference.
It's like 8 o'clock. He's like, it's pouring rain and the water is absorbing where you have your compost and it's sheeting off a brown water. So it's taking soil with it. So we know these things work, right?
Yeah.
But
healthy soil absorbs water.
But you went to an extreme to do what we kind of already knew, right? Paddock, adaptable. Paddocks, of course, made sense.
There's so much pushback, and people need science to help make up their mind. But the farmers need the science too.
Of course.
And so I think the science is really important right now. And I also think it's really important because, we're finding that if you manage your animals in an adaptive, regenerative way, it's not less bad. It's not like a steak or is less damaging to the planet. These are beneficial events.
Well,
the cows managed adaptively are actually making that land a greenhouse gas sink.
Yeah.
And so that's a different game than it's just less bad.
Well, the crazy thing was the birds. That just drove me crazy. I just was
Isn't that amazing?
Oh my God.
And birds are birds are the canary of the prairie.
Yeah, there it's
right.
Canary.
I did not make that up, but
canary in the coal mine.
Right, but the canary of the
like
prairie.
a rose in a vineyard.
There you go. I don't know about that one, but on the canary piece, the birds will land where they can live. So nature's just picking their spots. And in our study, just across the fence, it's 300% more grassland birds on this side of the fence than that side. And that's the average across all 5 farm pairs.
That is insane.
So some of our farm pairs, one of our farm pairs, the birds, it was 184 birds to 3.
I know.
And that was the difference. Only difference is the way they were managing their animals.
Microbiology is a lot harder to measure.
No, it's not harder to measure. It's
if you got to do, the reason I say it's harder to measure,
the
reason is one family's eating the next family, and they're eating, parts of the carbon, and it changes.
You mean the microbial community?
Yeah. So the microbial. So
it's diverse.
If you take a snapshot in the morning, it's different by the end of the day.
Yeah,
right?
she could be Gladys in the morning and Harold in the afternoon.
Right. That's why I say it's a little harder to measure.
So that's why you get a lot of measurements over a period of time.
Right, and you're measuring more quantity and maybe major families, and that's about how you can do it.
It's the charts now.
They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff, huh?
Yeah, the omics.
Okay.
The omics. I thought my scientist, when I was interviewing him, I thought it was a typo, but no, they're getting the genetics of everything down there.
Wow.
And it's tens of thousands of animals.
It's so cool. So if you read,
it's the diversity is important, but the balance is really important. Like the balance of insects, right? If you have one insect that's really munching on one plant, you've only got that one plant growing, you've got yourself a pest. But if you have a lot of different plants growing and you have that same insect digging on that one plant, well, there's all these other insects that'll keep it in check, and it'll keep all these other insects in check. And then it's a diverse, very functional community.
Do you read any E.O. Wilson stuff?
I've read one of his books
he's
on
a great
ants.
writer.
I got to shake his hand.
You
once.
did?
Yep.
Oh,
and I've got a
you.
good friend on our team, Steve Applebaum. He's he's met him a bunch, and he's working on, they're building a big, I don't know if it's a library or a campus dedicated to him in Alabama.
Oh, good.
So they're using all sorts of good ways of building that campus.
I mean, think about the entire life. It reminds me of that Disney ride, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or whatever. When
you mean the old one,
the old
like where you got into the
when you
Microsoft.
walked right in and you did the thing, and
that was well before that movie. I was there. I went to Disney in 1970. I was in that ride. I loved that ride.
Yeah,
it's gone. They should bring that ride back.
Oh, they did. They took it away. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
They should do an electron microscope ride at Disney. I mean,
sure.
I mean,
like
everything looks
soaring
amazing.
over Africa or going to the Sphere in Vegas, the same thing. So, but you started in film.
Yep.
So you can pick what you do, right? But you went into agriculture and you went into doing this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like me with the agave farms.
Mm-hmm.
Once I got in there, and I had no intention I never thought there were people in trouble. I was like this, like most people. I didn't, and we had, I don't know, 20, 30 different nonprofits using the space to fund for their nonprofit, or they were coming and they were growing
in that big city.
We had parties with 2,000-3,000 people in the community, but they would grow in rows, different people. And what the thing
you were a community of communities.
Yeah, but I didn't go into it like with any real. I thought I was going to go in and try to make money on it. I couldn't make money doing it.
Right.
But
none of this stuff.
What it is once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right.
That's the problem. And if you're an educated person, you take it as a challenge. Like, well, okay, there's a problem. I can fix it. Right. And then you find out, well, it's not so easy to fix.
Right.
But I can do something.
Well,
and that
for me, it's the film I made to get into film school was pretty much an environmental film. It was sort of the same film as Koyaanisqatsi. It was like nature without human intervention, and then humans show up, and then things look pretty bad. That was how I got into film school.
Yeah.
And then I made all sorts of different films in film school, and when I got out, I did all sorts of different things. But the first feature-length documentary I made was called Garbage, and it was about garbage problems across the U.S.
I wrote a thesis on garbage.
And then I did all this other stuff, and then I made my second feature film was called Carbon Nation, which was about solutions to climate change.
Okay.
And so in that film is where I learned about soils. That's where I learned about, if you treat soils well, you can help solve climate change. If you treat them poorly, you can help cause it.
Well, that part of it anyway, right? So,
and
that's a big part.
Yeah, it could be a tenth, it could be a 20%, it could be 30%. How much of the carbon in the atmosphere is from soil? Any of those numbers I just threw out there.
Have you been involved at all with Al Gore's Climate Reality Project?
I've not directly with the Climate Reality Project. I've met him a number of times. I've been at his. He has a conference, and he
in
had
Tennessee.
It. Yeah, and he had it right before COVID hit, and I was a moderator at that conference, and I was there again this last October, where the fellow from Michigan State you mentioned, Bruno.
Oh, so
spoke.
We were probably there. I didn't see you there.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Well, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there was very good food.
Yeah.
And
good.
And so And a lot of the folks who've been farm managers for him over the years we've been invited to visit. They've been watching our earlier short films. And so there's been a nice sort of flow of information with his farm, Caney Fork. Yeah.
I think the thing that we see is that there's a tremendous amount about awareness, but what we want to talk to the group about is how you take it from awareness to action.
Right.
So that's part.
That was part of our research. Was we had two major questions: will we see any difference across the fence between these two methods of grazing?
Which you did.
Which all the stuff that we measured: soil carbon, nitrogen, water infiltration, plants, bugs, birds, all that stuff, greenhouse gas cycling. But we didn't know. We had a hypothesis. It looks different. The farmers are making more money, so we thought something was there, but we didn't know. And then the other thing was, if we find out that, the adaptive side is better than the conventional side, maybe it's half and half. Maybe some things are better, some things aren't. Well, we found out all of them were better.
Yeah.
Would that affect change with the conventional farmers? We didn't know that either.
That's the social aspect.
That's the social aspect. Right. And so there's a lot to this project, and the filmmaking actually was part of the learning about each other. Like the farmers got to know me by the questions I asked. They got to know the science team by
Well, it
the
went
work.
for years, 4 years.
Yeah,
or
so it's
right?
a lot of time there, and what I was hoping to communicate with all the farmers as soon as possible was that we're there to help if we can.
Yeah.
We're not saying you need help. We're not saying you're doing anything wrong, but we are looking at this method of grazing that seems to be more economically viable, less work, and better for your animals.
Well, it's
And
not gonna-
It's just win, 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 win.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt.
And so we want to make sure we want to do the science to find out if that's true, and then so we needed the conventional farmers as much as the adaptive farmers.
Oh yeah. How did you? That's my question.
We asked them.
How did you find?
Well,
These side by side.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how did you even? Who even advertises that? How did you find them? Especially in 2014.
Yeah, well, 2014 is when the team really got together. 2018 is when we started the research. So in that 4-year period is when we did the fundraising. Well, we kept fundraising. I'm still fundraising. And we did the hunting for the farms. The first step was finding the adaptive farmers, the regenerative farmers.
Yeah.
And so we put out a notice in a couple of magazines. We had a network of people, and our survey got about 90 replies. And of those 25, we felt like, well, let's go scout those out. So Steve Applebaum, Rye Thompson, and me, we went out and scouted all 25 of those farms. And then of those 25, we picked 4, but then we found a 5th one by word of mouth. So that's our 5. And then we went across the fence. Yeah. And we had to find across the fence with the same soil type, right? And then B, we had to find across the fence someone who was doing what everyone else. Well, we were the shooting was brought up.
Yeah, yeah, it was more.
It was mentioned. Yeah, yeah. No, it wasn't actually. Barking dogs, chomping dogs, shotguns, those sorts of things were brought up in our first visits.
It can be a dangerous place. These farms. It's in South Africa.
Well,
it's a kind of a dangerous game.
I mean, my wife's from South Africa, and we've got friends that farm in South Africa. There are stories of danger that's happened down there, but there's also amazing, gorgeous places, but what we did once we found the farmers across the fence, we just said to them what I just said to you. We want to do this research. We think it'll be beneficial to you. You want to help us. And what I've found in my time on this planet is when you ask someone for help,
it's better than it's a better way to ask.
You get things done, and when someone asks me for help, I'm already like, how can I help, right? And that's the way it is between people. It's the way it is in rural towns and neighbors and things like that. So all of them said yes. And all of them still answer emails and phone calls.
Now, and you had a fair amount of them give it a try. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's in episode 4, so don't want to necessarily ruin it. But it was a very high rate of curiosity.
Yeah,
very high rate of
It's
curiosity.
a good way to go. And you're right. We shouldn't go any more detail because
of the results. But
it was really.
But
cool.
ask me any question.
I mean, I just was like blown away at the diversity of the plants growing and all of the, more than the birds even, is the insects and you can always tell when you're walking a healthy
farm. You can smell it, you can hear it, you can feel the difference. The soil is squishy.
Spongier.
It just is. And that's what gave us the incentive to actually do the research, because we can see the difference. And I've seen it work everywhere I've been. Like I've been on tour with the film for just a little over 2 years. We started in Chattanooga in June of 23. This year I've been to Australia, Iceland, all over the U.S. I can't remember every place I've been.
You know, did Joe tell you we're doing a documentary film festival here in March?
No.
Oh. He's gonna
let me know.
He's gonna be one of those guys asking for help.
Sure.
He loves the everything, the process you went through.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an enormous undertaking.
It was an enormous undertaking.
You're a little bit,
it was big.
Off Yeah, that's
Yeah, I mean, we didn't expect to do a 4-part docuseries when we were filming all the science and all the farmers and stuff like that. I did
believe
not.
it. But it's one of
But
those
we-
things that kind of grew that you had to, right?
Yeah,
To
well,
really show the story.
you know, we burned through a number of editors before we found the editor who really had it, understood it, and had the patience and the temerity and tenacity to stick with it. His name's Ben Daughtry. And when Ben took about 2 months to go through the footage when he jumped on board, and he said, "There's a story here." And I didn't really know the story, really.
Well,
and,
I thought
and really,
I was about to say you're an amazing storyteller, but
well,
it sounds like
it's a team. It's
yeah,
a team.
It's part of the process.
It's a team. So I'm out there filming. One of my students from ASU, Chris Smith, was out there filming, and then Nick Serpa, another student, worked on episode 4. And this woman, Kinsey Greer, she came on board. She worked on episode 4. So,
well, meanwhile, you got your job.
well, this is my job.
But I mean,
I'm teaching.
You're teaching.
Yeah, and so there's
So
there's photographs of me teaching remotely outside a barn while we're filming this thing.
Wow.
So, and I tried to bring as many students from my class on board to this project and other stuff I do, and it's been really good. It's like continuing education for them, right? But you can see talent, right? Like I have a former student right now working on our social media team.
Yeah.
His name's Danny Stepanovich, and he's doing a bang-up job. And so but what Ben did, and then he brought in a colleague of his, friend of ours named Michael Meese, to really come in at the very end. And what Charlie Boyce did, our assistant editor, that team is the storytelling team that found it in the edit room. You know, documentaries, you just shoot. At least I do. And then you got to find that story. And then Ben was really helpful, and Michael, on actually structuring episode 4, where we bring the science to the farmers. You know, because of COVID, I thought I was going to be bringing all the scientists.
Yeah, you would have been in trouble without episode 4. Episode 4 kind of brought it all together.
Yeah, and we hadn't filmed a frame of that when Ben came on board in 2020. And so talk about speculative and not knowing where you're going. I mean, we just did not know. And then COVID hits, which was kind of interesting because it kind of put Ben and me, we have a house back in Louisville, and we just were there, right, for months on end. He worked for 1.5 years, and then I took it and did the final polish because he burnt out. It was a really big, big job.
Of work.
And he was carrying it for 18 months by himself a lot of the time. And but he insisted on a few things because he's a producer too. And one of the things that he did that was very, very important to episode 4 was we did all the filming with the farmers, giving them data. He then was like, you got to show the scientists reacting to that. And so all those scenes we did with the scientists, now you met Gil Holland in Louisville. So it was Gil and his I guess former wife Augusta's farm where we filmed all those scientists. She's an amazing designer, amazing like architectural designer, and the way she renovated that barn, I just had a shot everywhere I looked.
The creativity over there,
right?
in
It's
Louisville
off the
is
charts.
It's
There's
nuts.
something in Louisville, man.
I know
I
it
do
is.
all my music
It
when I'm
really
back
is.
home.
I
My
never
mom
even
had
knew about it.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
mom
that's-
had an art gallery. There's a long history of really appreciating the arts.
Just the
in
creativity.
Louisville.
It's
Yeah.
about creativity.
Yeah, there's some great bands there, some great artists from there. And
I
then
loved our trip.
Muhammad Ali, he was an artist. He's from there.
Yeah.
And Daryl Griffith is an artist on the basketball court. He's from there. So there's a lot of art in sport as well.
That's what we call emotional intelligence. Right? It's a form of emotional intelligence.
I'll go there.
It really is.
I'll go there.
Okay, so watch this documentary series. The next series, the snapshot of it is the cowboy.
The precursor.
That was the precursor.
Yeah, Carbon Cowboys was. We did the.
Was that just extra film shots?
No. It's totally different. Totally different farms, different time. So basically, concurrent to the team designing the science for Roots So Deep, I was filming short films around the country and around the world of farmers doing this type of grazing.
Okay.
And so those.
So it was the precursor.
Yeah,
Okay.
And one of the films specifically was a precursor to the science.
Okay.
And that's when it's called The Luckiest Places on Earth, and that was shot in Canada. And so the science in that film showed me that I could do science in a documentary. Like, I didn't know. You know, I just didn't know. And then, you know, the editors who worked on those short films, the guy who cut most of those is an old friend of mine named Hal Honigsberg. And he kept asking me to be on camera. I'm like, I don't want to be on camera.
Oh, so you were going to be behind the camera
On 9 of those 10
this whole-
short films, I'm behind the camera. He's like, but you're asking questions that I want to use. And so on the 10th one, we said, let's test it. So we put me on camera, and that was the 10th
That
of
was
those
the magic for the new one.
Well, that gave me the courage, I guess, to do it. So Herd Impact was the last of the Carbon Cowboy shorts. And we have a YouTube channel called Carbon Cowboys.
Yes, I've been watching
All of our social media is called Carbon Cowboys as a result. So you can see all 10. And so that last one, Herd Impact, okay, now I'm going to try being on camera. And so that's what we did for Roots So Deep.
So I got a question, two questions, and then then I'll go into my questions. We'll start the podcast. Okay. The first one is Carbon Nation. Is that a thing anybody can join, or is that just a thing you created to do your deal?
Yeah. So Carbon Nation was the documentary that we started in 2007, released in 2010.
Okay.
And one of our original funders, a great friend, her name's Gigi Pritzker, we were trying to figure out, do we start an LLC, limited liability corporation, or do we start a 501c3, you know, a charity that the IRS,
sure.
people can donate and have it tax deductible.
Smart way to go.
And she said, do a 501c3.
Yeah.
I'll thank her till the day I die for that
that's it.
decision.
Now,
So Carbon Nation was the movie, and we named the 501c3 the same. And if the movie did well, then we would keep that 501c3 going.
So the extended question on this is, during the filming, I saw that you would bring a farmer over to the other side, back and forth.
In Roots So
and
Deep,
then the process of learning was, hey, would you talk to him? And that's that. But my question to you is, you've done the science, you've done the filming.
Yeah.
Is there a book or an instruction manual? We create field guides.
Oh, I got you.
You have field guides because
there's
it'd be
a lot
easy to have a very short field guide on here's what you do first, second, and third. A farmer wants that field guide to not just tell him what or how, but how much.
Right.
So, how is this going to, how long is it going to take, and how much is it going to cost me?
So we have an ecosystem of excellence, of friends and companies and organizations that are just part of this network.
Right.
It's like the roots. It's like the mycorrhizal fungi in the soil. And so Alan Williams, Gabe Brown, Alan's in the documentary. Gabe and Alan and another guy were in our very first short film, Soil Carbon Cowboys, a guy named Neil Dennis. Those guys were the pioneers, really. And they are now teachers. And so when a farmer wants to learn, I can start giving them answers on an email, but Alan always says, just send them to me, because he knows what he's talking about.
That's one
so
of the
we
things.
send them to Understanding Ag. That's the channel for us, right? So if a farmer wants to learn, what we want is Roots So Deep makes the awareness of soil health to a farmer, right? Okay, we got the awareness, and they're curious.
Now you got to bridge the gap to action.
Give them over to Alan.
Okay.
And then Alan, just like in episode 4, Alan shows up to teach.
Okay.
He's the guy.
Yeah. Brilliant guy.
And so that's our field guide, right? We're also starting a Discord channel, Carbon Cowboys, and Discord was developed by gamers to talk while they're gaming. So it's a really good interface of communication. So we're asking farmers to join our Discord so they can just teach each other, right? So if we have enough farmers from around the world who've already started their WhatsApp groups.
We call it the community. We have a thing called the community of gardens.
It's exactly
that.
that.
It so you can talk. But we're doing physical field guides that
Well,
we want to bring over to Africa. That's what we're doing. And the field guide's got to be short, sweet, not
visual.
too much words, a lot of visual to it, and just some basic concepts, right? And that's
no, it's a good idea to have like thick cards or something like that. I'm sure Understanding Ag's thought of it, and we collaborate with them. We got a lot of work to do, and so Roots So Deep is sort of the proof of concept. It's the pilot. And now what we're talking about is Roots So Deep Inc., right? To actually really stand this up and get to tens of thousands of farmers.
Because it's like almost like regenerative farming for dummies. You could create a book like that.
Yeah.
And that'll sell some money.
Yeah.
Okay, now for a few questions.
Okay.
You've
probably asked half of them already.
I don't know. I haven't gotten past what I... we already talked. The first one I did. That's the context
Yep.
and
Context is important.
what we're doing, right? Ecological. So you're okay. Here are the extended questions. Okay,
Bring them on.
you're in Alabama, Georgia, and Kentucky,
And
humid-
Tennessee.
and Tennessee.
Yep.
My bad. Humid, rain-rich areas that were historically grasslands or forest grassland mosaics.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to clarify for listeners, grasslands are dominated by grasses, whereas savannas, mixed grasses with scattered trees. You were working in more of a grassland context, correct?
Well, we were, the South, we also did research on what we were calling reference natural areas, right? Areas that hadn't been disturbed. There's virtually no area in the
There's no
Southeast
place left on the planet that is
well, no,
like
there
that.
are places. Actually, Fort Campbell, Kentucky is a large place that's never been plowed. We just couldn't crack that nut. I know folks now that could get us on there, but at the time, we just could not get on Fort Campbell.
Okay.
We actually know folks in the Department of Defense that are actually bringing amp grazing to Army bases to graze and make those bases more mission ready, right?
Yeah.
To make them more functional for less money so the soldiers can train and that their bullets don't cause wildfires because it's all this unkempt forage. It's well-managed forage.
Yeah, it's another way of land management, right? So,
So we were in the Southeast. Yes, the Southeast, any kind of grazing area, if you don't graze it, it's going to turn into forest, right? In the Southeast, it's just going to do that.
It's a reforesting process if it was once forest, right? So,
well, no, not if it was once forest even, because birds are pooping and bringing seeds and all that stuff.
There's migration.
But there were a lot of grasslands in the Southeast U.S. in 1491 and back before a lot of diseases got here from Europe. And the folks who lived here coexisting, working with the bison and the grazing animals, were maintaining grasslands with fire, with moving the animals. So there was a great symbiosis already.
So the question, though, that I guess I have is, there were foundation grasses in this area.
Okay.
Foundation
You mean like native
grasses.
species?
Yeah, endemic species that go back thousands of years.
Okay.
And then
Probably much further than
a
that.
fair amount of the grass in that region, though, however, is European grasses. So
You mean that it has been planted, or
they've come in.
I mean, I'm kind of on the edge of my knowledge base.
They
here.
came in
We have
400
ecologists for this.
Okay. 400, 300, 200, 100 years ago.
Right.
They were brought in to raise better cattle or better animals or
So they
whatever.
thought, yep.
So that was my question is, do you know what percentage is native grass, true endemic grass or native versus European?
So what I can answer on that is two things. Our paper on the plants and the water is published. You can go in there and get all nerdy, detailed as you'd like to be on the species of forage. But what we're all thinking, and this is again Steve Applebaum's teaching me, is that on all of the ranches and farms that we've studied in the Southeast, there could be a lot more native species growing.
And they might come back.
Well, they're coming back. They're in the ditches on the side of the road on the edge of they're there. And so there's a thing called the latent seed bank. So some stuff is coming back, right? And so it's just like more and more of that will probably make these farms thrive even more. Like we feel like we're just scratching the surface on the power and the potential of amp grazing everywhere, especially in the Southeast.
So Midwest was savanna. That's it, but
the prairies.
It's been the prairie. It's been kind of converted to
plowed
industrial.
We lose 1 million acres of grasslands every year in the United States right now to corn and soy.
Well, I was in Buenos Aires, in Argentina, and I left the city to go down into some farming areas, and it was the same thing. At that time, when I was looking, I kind of did the research. There was only a few trees and a few bush species, but it was 3 primary grass types. But again, they went industrial farming too. Yeah. And so, but what I was trying to get at is we're getting back to the foundation species concept, right? So
I've never heard the term foundation species. I've heard of native, like native.
Well, if you look at the monarch butterfly, will coexist with
The milkweed plant.
milkweeds and certain flowers.
Right.
And they literally coexisted for thousands of years.
Yeah. There's
And
tons of plant insect
existing.
cohabitations.
Yeah, so
and,
that to me,
collaborations.
so that is the, okay, you're farming, that can
But
be.
that's one insect, one plant.
Right,
When
but
there's thousands of insects.
When you
and-
can bring in those foundation, there's a handful of trees. It's like on our landscape palette, there's a handful of trees we put in, a handful of shrubs.
like the starters.
Right, and they're the ones. But by doing that, you're creating that biodiversity.
Got it.
What you're
I
doing
understand
by
what you're
not
saying.
cutting things down is you're allowing some of that, because seed is banked in the soil for thousands of years too.
Yeah.
So now it's coming back.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the real microscopic
Now, you
cool
said,
thing, right?
You said, I'm doing this. I am celebrating the people that are doing this.
Well,
I'm not a farmer.
when I'm talking to you, I'm talking about the
I know.
group.
I know.
You're
I just want
representing
to.
the group, right?
The
So
farmers are the heroes.
So yeah, I think what we're talking about, and that's the part when I go to regeneration seminars and I do talk to people. To me, it's like the borders. You can replant, because I did native trees.
You mean like the edges?
Yeah,
That whole theory.
the border, or if
Or
you're going
interspersed.
to go into the desert, leave some of the desert. That's what we did up in North Scottsdale when you
Right.
go up to Troon or any of the roadways up there. You'll see big section. Most of the up there, we left it back in place. But by doing that, you're really creating the regeneration.
Taking advantage of nature.
It's the resistance that you're doing now at that point. Now you got resilience to disease and everything else.
Yep.
So that to me is the big part of regenerative that I don't hear about.
No, it absolutely is. The ability for the diversity of microbes equals the health of the plants.
Right.
And the health of the plants brings in the health of the
Like
insects.
the
which
microbes
brings
in our
the
body
birds,
too. It's the same stuff.
our
It's
microbiome, all
right.
this stuff. Everything, the more the merrier.
It's part of
Right?
it's part of what E.O. Wilson calls the biosphere, right? It's the whole
Exactly.
thing. Now, I want to get to, okay, so you're back over there, 40 to 60 inches of rain a year.
Yep.
We don't get that here.
No, we
so
don't.
we're 10 to 15 at the most, but a fair amount of the farming.
I haven't seen 10 to 15 inches of rain in 10 years here.
Well, I'm being generous.
Yeah.
So it's technically it was used
to be.
When I came here, it was 13.
Okay.
But I'll bet it's not even. I think it's single digits now.
I know
But you never
it is.
know. It could.
Yeah.
The other thing is it could come all in one day.
We got an inch and a half last night.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, where did it go?
It washed away.
It washed away.
With a lot of oil.
But yeah, it took a lot of oil with it.
Yep.
So when we're talking regenerative farming, I looked worldwide. These savannas can support maybe 25% of animal husbandry at the top. Because if you got cattle in Arizona, you're not doing the same thing here that you did there. It's just you can't do that.
Well, there's local context, rainfall, latitude, absolutely. But there are universals. Keeping your animals in a herd, moving them frequently. Now, that herd in that paddock is going to be much larger in Arizona than it's going to be in Kentucky.
But a lot of our stuff here is CAFOs. I mean, we're not raising.
CAFOs are, concentrated animal feed operations.
Right.
Those aren't the regenerative path, right? Those are the efficient monetary path, right? And they've made really cheap food.
But we want to eat local. And now we have a huge population. By 2050, maybe 12 million people, probably the carrying capacity.
You're saying, can Arizona grow its own food?
Well, can Arizona grow some food? I mean, right now it's growing. Arizona, California.
I'm less knowledgeable on Arizona than I am on the part of the country I'm from. But this part of the world, Southwest U.S. and the West, is definitely on the drying side.
Right. So this is why. So part of it is it's not a
doesn't have to be that way.
But it doesn't have to be completely regenerative. But there's a move for me. That's a move from institutional or industrial farming towards soil health. That's the way I would put it.
Right.
So using the waste products. I mean, if they're in CAFOs, that's where we are. We're in big dairies and
You mean where you're getting the
that's
materials
my base,
for your compost?
right. And we also
It's the
take
manure from the dairies and things like that?
Yeah, manure from dairies and chicken, and then we have a huge facility where we take that and feed worms.
Yep.
So we are doing vermicomposting.
And then are you selling that compost to farmers then?
Yes, we sell it to
that's the
farmers,
cycle.
and that's that
Do you
business.
have to pay for the manure, or is it given to
Well,
you?
I'm paying for manure.
Because it used to be that they would just give it to you.
You can get it, yeah. And we can get, and we're starting to do food as well, food waste, because the food waste can be mixed in.
Oh, absolutely.
If we pick it.
It should be if it's
A big problem we have throughout the country is source separation. We could literally use waste from all over.
Yeah.
And I have friends who are composting all the city wastes from California are coming over.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is it's near impossible to separate out the glass and the plastic.
From the food waste?
No, from the yard waste programs that are coming over.
People are putting plastic and glass in yard waste?
Yeah, of
Oh,
course. Even landscapers, we have to, even I have a landscape company, we are very, very telling them there is no, because one plastic bottle's got 2,000 shreds of plastic. And glass, everything we put in biodegrades pretty quick, but the glass is like a shimmering sea on top of not a good thing for a farmer who's running rubber tires or walking on the grass. So that was what I was going to ask you is regeneration. As we're looking at it, right now grasslands technically cover 40% of the Earth's surface, but most of our humanity's calories.
Well, the Earth's land surface.
Irritable surface.
Yeah.
Irrigable.
Is that right? Because the way I know it is 3.5 billion hectares of grazing land, 1.5 billion hectares of arable row cropable land.
Okay.
Those are the numbers I know.
Right, but we're using the grasslands to grow our row crops too.
Well,
but either way, there's
big chunks.
We've got to, so this is a form of regenerative farming. That was my whole point because
amp grazing, no question.
If we look, or just meat supply in general, most of our calories worldwide, I think it's 60% come from grains, and then 20 from vegetables, and then the balance, the 20 come from animals.
Okay.
As we merge into more urbanization and we take people from the third world to the first world, which we want to do. You don't want people in the third world starving. But as we do, the demand for that meat increases. There's only so much grassland that you can pull lamp on.
Well,
you could certainly do a lot.
I know where you're going now.
Yeah.
There's a couple of points there. The idea that you're only going to grow one type of food on that land isn't really using nature at its peak. Like you can grow animals and you can do a lot of different animals on the same land, right? And you can grow row crops on that land with the animals in concert.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so the idea that land, you were alluding to it, the idea that land's only for cattle, right? That's myopic and that's not actually as productive as that land can be. Then the idea that land can only hold so many head of cattle is based on conventional methods. And regenerative methods of grazing, you can triple your carrying capacity, the amount of animals on that same land. Like Will Harris in White Oak Pasture in Georgia, his dad raised probably 2,000 head of cattle on their land. When I went there and filmed in 2015, he had 100,000 animals on his land, different species, right? And so all stacked, all in concert, all rotating, right? And it all feeds, each thing helps the next thing. So it's a symbiosis, right? And so this idea that all the science papers are all just like that. One thing's going to grow on that land. I haven't seen hardly any papers saying we're going to grow 4 different crops and these animals on that piece of land.
It's like West Jackson with permaculture.
Exactly.
And so, but what we're trying to do is use perennial, and the grass is a perennial.
Well, that's his game, right? With Kernza and trying to produce a grain that you can make beer and bread from, but it's perennial.
But I think you could probably, my thought, I don't know this, but is once the animals have gone through and grazed it, not all the way down, but pretty close, I think you could probably plant a crop
no question.
in that pasture.
No question.
Grow something.
Yeah.
And then
We
next year let it go back to the grass.
Well, you can have the animals grazing on the cropland, not necessarily grassland. right?
True.
And then that farmer's getting free fertilizer,
Right.
right? And then they're grazing the plover, the plants post-harvest, helping recycle everything.
Right.
The really big problem in agriculture around the world, the biggest problem is exposed soil. Like that's the top,
That's it.
right? And so you have exposed soil, wind blows it away. We just had a huge dust storm yesterday. We know what that looks like. Well, they've been having dust storms across the Midwest since I've been studying this stuff. This summer.
Grapes of wrath.
No, I'm talking 2025.
Oh, now, yeah, that's happening.
It's just the soil is not as dark as it was in the 30s when they wrote Grapes of Wrath.
35 billion tons a year worldwide.
It's just insane how much is wasted, and then rain washes it away. And this is our gold. This is our topsoil, right? And so keeping the land covered between harvests all the time, using animal impact to help with that, that's the game, right? And then you're constantly bringing carbon and cycling into the soil, constantly feeding the microbes. Exposed soil in Texas last summer, a friend of mine measured it at 170 degrees. A piece of exposed soil. Now, the temperature was 102.
You could probably cook an egg outside.
Right? 170 degrees. Well, microbes stop working at 100, and they're dead by 110.
Right.
You know, most of them.
Well, 131 is what we compost to.
There you go.
If we want to kill the microbe, or the pathogen, I
Right.
should say, not the microbe, but the pathogen.
Pathogens, yeah.
But if we want to kill the seed pathogen, we go up to about 140, 145.
Right. So think about that. So exposed soil gets super hot in the summer in the sun. And then it washes away when it rains, and it blows away when the wind
And
blows.
these are the techniques we're dealing with when we're in Africa, and they're adapting. The problem is just no capital to take. What I want to do is there's so much green waste.
Now you're saying Africa, but which countries in Africa?
Malawi is our primary, but we're in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
You got to come to Zimbabwe on
Love
a
to.
farm that Alan Savory knew the owners.
Okay.
And the sons are still running. It is 100,000. They have 50,000 acres that the family had that they turned into conservatory.
Okay. Yep.
And they each have 25,000 next to it that they haven't turned into it yet, but they do some.
Are you talking about the Savory Institute's land, or are you talking about something else?
No. This
Okay.
is a couple of brothers.
Another org, another group, or
Yeah,
family.
it's just a family that's been there for a long, long time, but
Got
they're rewilding on their own dime.
Right.
And I'm like, guys, nobody knows about your story. It's like, you're doing something fantastic.
Yeah.
And what they're doing. And so.
Well, bring your cell phone down and post some things. We'll help you out.
We've done it. Yeah.
Okay. So
you're walking, and what they'll do is they've created, they've taken a center pivot, they've dammed up the river a little to keep a little water past the rain season. And then they're growing a star grass, and they brought in another genetic of cattle that has more meat on it. And then they're introducing that into the villages, which live on their land, by the way. And so it allows them to eat more meat for less money, but they're also not having to go into the bush. So I've kind of coined a term, what I call agricarcinoma, which is what we're doing to the world right now. It's cancer. And we have, you talked about mycorrhizae, there's endo and ecto. One is on the inside, one is on the outside of roots, right? So when we talk conventional farming.
Agricarcinoma?
Yeah, so it goes a little even crazier.
That's where we're heading.
Well,
That's
we're
what
here.
Well,
we're
we've
not
developed
there. We're not
it.
heading. Yeah.
The good news is nature really likes to be healthy.
It
It
can
changes
come back
very
fast.
quickly.
So, but what we've got in the industrialized world, we are poisoning from outside. We are taking
Well, there's a lot of
synthetics.
inside. Yeah.
No, we're taking synthetics. We're taking and putting fertilizers down, but we're also killing bugs with a lot of the stuff we're doing, right? So we're bringing in inputs.
Insecticide is called insecticide for a reason.
Right, but we're also eating the food that is grown through the synthetic fertilizer.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's where we're getting our cancer from in the industrialized world. But in places like Southeast, we're going to Central Asia in a couple of weeks, in Southeast Asia and in Africa, it's you're poisoning from the, so you're going one from the inside, one from the outside, but over there, they're growing a crop like a maize, in rain season only, because that's the only time. So it's smallholder farms,
Right.
which, by the way, is about 51% of the world is growing food on 1 or 2 acres.
I've heard it's
smallholder
higher than
farmers.
that. Yeah, but go ahead.
And what they'll do is they go in.
Meaning
and,
the majority of the food on Earth is grown by small farms at this point.
Yeah, 51%. And by the way, more women than men. So they're growing.
And that needs to keep going.
Well, yeah, but so what they're doing is they're growing over there on the same plot year in and year out, because they're growing that same. So it has to do with crop selection, crop rotation is part of your land management. It has to do with how you're taking care of the soil.
Yep.
So you're right, you got to cover it for 2 reasons: one, to absorb water; the other, to cover from the sun.
To keep it cool.
So it's pretty basic stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, fertility. So for us, fertility is bringing in compost, a lot of animal compost, and trying to.
So that's the amendment. That is
the amendment.
You're giving it a punch.
Right. Well, it's the beginning.
Stoking the system.
And if you tried it from there, you can do regenerative. So to me, regenerative is being able to grow, having it grow on its own. When we go out into a forest, we're not, nobody's planting a tree, nobody's fertilizing or watering a tree.
Well,
right?
the animals are fertilizing, but I guess
we aren't as humans.
Yeah.
We're not taking control.
The folks the farmers I know and work with, and the scientists I know and work with, it's the animal impact that's really important for the health of the land.
Alan Savory, and before Alan, there was another South African that talked about the need for humans to be part of it. Because at the end of the day, you need predators, because the predators chase the animals.
Yeah.
And now we're a little more domesticated.
There was a guy from Voisson as well. It's everyone's standing on the shoulders of the folks ahead.
But the fun would be if you go to. So we're doing for students. We're doing a 14-day eco tour, cheap it's pretty cheap for the kids to do it. But
in Zimbabwe.
In Zimbabwe, because we team up for out of Africa safaris.
Okay.
And the 2 brothers have a part ownership in that, and they have safaris all over. But we'll go into Bulawayo if you've been down.
I haven't been to Zimbabwe. I've certainly been across South Africa.
They got a great natural history museum that talks about history of Zimbabwe, but they've stuffed every animal and insect. So before you go on a safari, you can literally say, okay, that's a lion.
Keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for that.
Right. You can look.
Yep.
And so that's part of our tour. And then the seed bank is great. There's all these African women, PhDs, running the whole seed bank, and they know, they're so smart, right? And we were up in Karangan doing some projects up there, and we found out that I think USAID went and tested the women in that area, and they were low in iron.
The women.
The women.
Okay.
Women in general need more iron, but over there they're growing rice and they're growing corn and some other food. We went to the seed bank in Zimbabwe like 3 days later, and I'm sitting there, and they're walking me through everything they're doing, and I'm like, I hate maize. I said, they hate me because I hate maize, but maize is just, it strips the nitrogen. It's a stripper. It's not a legume. It's not affixing nitrogen.
It is a grass, but
it is, but it's a hybridized grass that you have to plant every year. You have to buy that seed. But anyway, it's not super nutritious. And what you've got is, I said, so what are the alternatives? What should be? She starts walking through. She goes, what's this and what's that? And she's like, well, this is finger millet. It's like, well, tell me about finger millet. And they've been growing it for 1,000 years here. Okay. And on top of it.
So going back to what was happening before.
And she goes, what's really great is it's high in iron. Oh, I said, hey, we need iron in Karanga. I'll give you the seed. Yeah. So that's kind of that's
nature.
The concept of how things can kind of come together
in
that part of the world. But you would love, it's one of the most beautiful. It feels like you're going to Jurassic Park. They have those stacks of boulders going up.
Okay.
And it's just, and so you're seeing rewilding. You're going down to where he's got the pivot, and then they have some row cropping, and they're growing. But you'll walk, there'll be a warthog, or there could be anything. There could be any animal, zebras, whatever, walking right in the farm area.
Yeah, the concept of rewilding, it works best when you have animal impact,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then you're creating a situation where wildlife will be there. And
Right.
so the best farmers are creating wildlife habitat, no question. And a lot of times it's endangered wildlife habitat,
Yeah.
especially grasslands with grassland birds that are so under fire.
You're bringing
you know?
back the foundation plants
Yeah.
and what the
Or just
evolution of
yeah, even if it's not the
biology.
foundation plants, at least it's tall grass for the for the quail to nest in.
There you go.
You know, so it's
Sure, it's part of
steps
it.
in the right direction.
Okay. I probably I keep getting the hook here, but let me just see if there's
I
anything.
need to get going fairly
So,
soon.
okay.
Yep.
Biggest question. Can regenerative ag actually feed 10 billion people? Or is it a regional Band-Aid? Some argue it could replace 30 to 50% of industrial, but not all.
Well, who's
What do you
arguing that? I would say, friend of mine, one of our scientists who's just doing amazing work, John Lundgren, he'd say we can't. He would say the only way we could feed 10 billion people is through regenerative agriculture. That's the only way. And let's look at what we're doing right now. What are we about 8 and some change, 8 billion and some change right now? We're growing enough food to feed everybody. We're throwing a third
It's
of it
the
away.
40 or plus percent that is getting wasted.
Yeah, it's
part of that system.
so it's a distribution problem. It's a human problem.
It's part of a circular economy.
Well,
it's part of regeneration, right? It's part of.
Well, there's all sorts of reasons why. I mean, there's in the United States for years, crops have been rotting in the field because there's not enough people to harvest it.
Yeah.
And that's getting worse.
And you have to have the same size and the same. It's got to be ripe, certain ripeness.
Well, all those things true, right. But we're growing enough food right now. But I'm going with John. I'm saying there's no way we could properly feed 10 billion people unless we use regenerative agriculture.
Love it. Great, that's optimistic.
And
last question.
And what I was saying earlier, the regenerative farmers are growing a lot of crops in the same year, where the conventional farmers have been taught just grow one thing that year.
Much more diversity.
It's waste. It's waste. It's waste. It's waste. Yeah.
I agree. So the last question.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm looking at the website and I'm looking at everything, I thought I saw a series on Africa, but I clicked on it. Are you doing a documentary in Africa?
No.
Did I just miss that completely?
Well, no, I haven't done. Well, what you did see is in our social media, we've got pieces from our trip. We toured Africa.
Okay.
So we went from the East Coast to the West Coast last summer of 24.
From Sub-Sahara or
I'm talking South Africa.
Oh,
South Africa.
Okay.
And so we went from Durban to Cape Town.
Okay.
And we showed the film in farm communities along the way.
Oh, okay.
A guy named Andrew Ardington basically produced that tour. And so he would get these really nice venues. The farmers would show up at 8. There'd be good snacks and coffee. Yeah. They'd watch episodes 1 and 4, so they get the full arc of the story without 4 hours of watching. And then I'd do a Q&A, and then we'd bring in 3 or 4 farmers from that area, and then they'd do a Q&A, and then we'd all go have lunch. So they made this amazingly wonderful community.
So it was kind of an educational process that you went through.
It was great. I mean, I got to meet so many cool people. And so I'm seeing AMP Grazing work in the Karoo Desert, right? And then I'm in Iceland, and I'm seeing it work in Iceland and Tasmania, and Alejandro Carrillo's making it work in the Chihuahuan Desert. Anywhere it's being done well, it works. And that's about knowledge sharing. That's about continued learning. It's not about someone just saying, I'm going to try it, and no one's around them and they're alone, and they don't have to make all the mistakes the pioneers made, right? That's done. We can now learn from them and compress that learning from 20 years to 2, right?
Yeah, well, that's the whole process.
So the South Africa tour would be the only thing that would have been part of Africa in our world.
And somehow I didn't click on that.
Yeah, but we haven't seen it. There's a lot more footage from that trip. There's a whole lot of footage from Australia. It's just, it's
a lot of work.
We have a really powerful social media team. It's 2 main people and then one other editor, and it's doing amazing work.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we stay in touch. You're
I'd love
right
that.
here.
Yeah.
Come on out. We'll look at the other side of things, how
Yeah.
you work in
I love
in
compost.
the Arizona desert,
Yeah,
and
man.
compost, vermicompost, and
Yeah.
all the stuff we're doing.
Sounds good.
And then talk to Joe about maybe having shown your stuff at the film festival.
Fast.
here.
The answer's always yes. And we could show my students work too.
Yeah, and I think we already got ASU secured,
Oh, sweet.
so we can run your stuff there.
Nice.
You're part of that whole
There you go.
ecosystem.
Yes, I am.
So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for coming. Had a lot of fun.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.